Good evening, Eric-san. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Okay, konbawa. Just a brief background on what is going on here. I have been interested in process improvement, so I look at the processes and the principles behind process improvement over the last 30 years, 25 years. I have about I have worked in corporate America for about 40 years. It's a long time. What I try to do is to capture my experiences. So in YouTube, I have a playlist called The Art of Execution. It's a framework, Art of Execution framework. You can see the red cursor on my screen, right? AOE. Can you see it? That's called the Art of
Yeah.
Execution. So process improvement. In the playlist, there are about 13 videos, some of which explain the framework and the four pillars, and some are case studies. This, I think, will be one of my last process improvement videos for that playlist. I'm ready to leave it behind because I think I have studied enough for my own perspective for now. Therefore, since you didn't have a chance to see any of my other videos laying out the framework, some of this will not make too much sense to you or to anybody else. And what's happening here is about 3 months ago, I was removed from a project from a company, right? I got into
Uh,
trouble on 4 different projects, and I was let go. I was quote unquote fired or dismissed from 4 projects. And this case study is about one of those projects. I was removed from 3 of them, and then they kept me on the other one, the fourth one, for another 3 weeks. It was very puzzling. I don't really know why. All I can guess, and I don't mean to be negative, is that maybe they were looking for flaws or for me to make mistakes so they can fire me from the company. I don't mean to be negative about it, but it was just very strange because I would send the email to the director and he would answer some emails and ignore the other ones. So it's just very strange.
uh,
So what's happening here is, are we going to improve the company or not? And people are usually focused on their own power, their own territory, their title, their job, the size of their offices, and the bonuses they get. So process improvement is a different mindset that's about improving the place for everybody else. And the focus goes past oneself. So my question is, after you fight all the trouble, triaging means to fight to take care of the crisis of the company. The, the case study that I'm using here, the company had problem with processing the doctor's invoices. When the patient goes to see a doctor, the doctor will send the bill to the health plan to get paid. So we have problems with the doctor's processing, with the members processing, with the payment processing. So I understand there were lots of problems to fight. And number of years have passed. So at this point, I'm not sure if process improvement is actually in their agenda or what. And therefore, the subject for this case study is: are we going to do process improvement or are we not going to do it? And in my particular case of being removed from a project, I'm using some key out of execution framework principles to talk about how organizations can be transformed. Do you have any questions at this point?
no.
Thank you. Thank you for the smiles that you had earlier on. Variations, fundamental principles in any company, in everything, in every family, in every person, in every team, there's always variation. How much experience a person has, how many years has person worked in that industry, how does the person fight, how does the person handle conflict, how well can the person express him or herself. So there are infinite variations in how a team can put together and where the company is and the problems the companies are having. And that's why the art of execution framework is based on principles such as the gravity or the compass to go north, true north. Remember that the compass we were looking at a couple of days ago?
Yeah.
So in theory, everything that we do in life, whether it's running a marathon, whether it's getting into Ivy Leagues, whether it's buying a house, whether it's to make an airplane fly, airplanes can be huge, like a jumbo jet, or can be very small, single person aircraft. It takes all forms, but the principles of flight are the same. There must be enough lift based on the thrust, and then the weight of the airplane and the gravity, that's called the drag. So the lift has to be greater than the drag, so the airplane can become airborne. So that's the basic principle of flight. Therefore, in everything, there are principles in everything that we do. How do you make a shirt? How do you make a computer? How do you build a house? So no matter what business we are in, we need to realize our production process will have variation because of variations in people, variation, even the same person. In the morning, you may feel differently than how you feel in the afternoon. The mood that you have before you have lunch or after you have lunch are different. So there are variations all the time, which is a characteristic of our existence. That's which we call the universe or duality. So let's remind ourselves of that principle. The other thing which we will briefly talk about tonight is called the map of consciousness. Because if a person is very controlling or angry, then the person's emotion is hostile, and the person will treat the team members and the companies and the groups in a hostile way. You can go on mute in case something is going on. Hey, Alan-san, konnichiwa, konbanwa. Show your face, homie. All right, so good to see you. Okay, hi. If you're not wearing clothes, you may want to stay on the camera for too long. We are recording. You can put on a shirt and come back. Okay. So the map of consciousness is saying the attitude which you bring to process improvement is very important. That's why we were talking about PPSPS, right? The philosophy of personal best or doing the best that you can, and everything is relative to you because I'm much older than you are by decades. So therefore, you and I have great variations and differences in how we see the world and how we handle the world. So, anyways, that's personal best. So we will study the map of consciousness. You can go on mute. You can mute your phone if people are gonna be talking too much in the background. Work ownership cannot be coerced but encouraged. What's going on here is sometimes when the leadership is too angry or the managers, they are saying too many things. People will not become empowered. People will not be interested to help because there's too much oppression and too much pressure, too much anger going on. Okay, we need to understand that principle. And sometimes I see the level of people getting, I don't know, getting disciplined, getting pushed out, getting brutalized. It's almost like in the Marines when they train the new recruits, they yell at them, they get in their faces, and then they break them down, and they build them back up. Jack Welch from the GE, General Electric, they called him Neutron Jack because he was like a neutron bomb where the buildings stand intact and all the people were gone. So it's very important to understand when you do process improvement, do you encourage people, empower people, help people, support people, help people to succeed rather than condemning them and making them feel bad and tell them what they have done wrong and they were failures based on their past. It's very important. And I was in Citigroup for 28 years. My site was shutting down, 1,500 people. At that point, became 900 people, I guess. They taught everybody Six Sigma Green Belt skills, even though the people were gonna let go, and we knew it. So you really have nothing to lose if when you try to empower the people, whether they stay with you or not. Case study of misalignments. Then there will be some complex examples which we will go through fairly quickly. The next thing we will cover as part of this case study, how do you go from as is to be? So currently, as is means what's going on right now. Currently, something is not doing well, and you would like to, what you call it, you would like to change it, transform it. What are the key principles there? So we understand that we were busy fighting fires and to keep the company going, to keep the team going, to keep the money coming in, and we need to figure out who owned the problems, who owned the process improvement, who owned the dysfunction, and then we need to create ideally conditions of empowerment from the get-go. Okay, so that's the overview, and we will end this in 1 hour by 9:30. About 17 minutes have passed. Variations, right? We talked about variations, which is a characteristic of our environment, of our world. The light is very bright behind your head, just so you know,
Oh.
which is fine, just so you know. Okay,
Uh,
there are principles. There are principles at the individual level, interpersonal level, group level, and organizational levels. We need to understand what are the principles of effectiveness. You can look up the 7 habits of highly effective people videos in YouTube. We won't cover that here right now tonight. Okay. Rudimentary model for responding to variation where one size never fits all. We'll talk about that, how to handle the variation. So if you look at the table here, it's somewhat complex. It's not going to make too much sense to anybody, even if they have lots of experience. In an environment where the company is very mature, like a group of people, they know what they are doing, they are making good money, lots of customers, the employees are happy, the systems are working, and everything is running well. In that case, what a company like McDonald's at some point, after they made everything so efficient, then they were opening up branches in different cities in California. Then they opened up in different states. Then they opened up in different countries, right? Because in those environments, the project managers such as myself would just focus on project management. And because everything is so efficient and so smooth, you don't have to wait too long, and you can handle very complex and very difficult projects. So the first scenario is everything is doing very well. In the second scenario, second case is where, yeah, we know what we are doing in this hamburger store, hamburger restaurant, but we don't have everything cleared up. When are the tomatoes coming? When are the meat patties going to be delivered? So there are some areas of ambiguity. So in this case, the leadership is going to be focusing on process improvement, end to end. ETE means end to end process improvement, from buying the hamburgers, buying the milk for the milkshake, the straws, the napkins. You have to arrange everything. And in this case, the project manager is focused on working between different teams to make sure everything come together. And the wait time can be fairly long. You know, instead of 2 minutes, it could be 15 minutes. And then we have the last case, which is the focus of the case study for process improvement. This is where the processes are not defined, the end-to-end processes are not defined or disintegrated. The cook doesn't know what the dishwasher is doing. The owner doesn't know what the cook is doing. The waiter doesn't know what the cook, nobody knows what everybody else is doing, and people don't have what they need to do their job. Computer is not working. There's no documentations. Users don't know how to use the system. So I have worked in an environment like that for a number of years. And of course, when you are in an environment that everything is working very very well, then you don't need to have process improvement. So in this case, the leadership should focus on defining processes, the basic of who should do what when, who should do this first, who should do that second. And the project manager should focus on doing as much of the work as possible because the workers do not have a clear understanding of what they are supposed to do and what their teammates are supposed to be doing when. And in these cases, the project's wait time for the different steps can be very long or indefinite. I have seen projects which in some companies would take 3 to 4 months, but in some other company it took 2 3 years and it failed. All right, so that's very bad. The map of consciousness, the duality skills. If you look at somebody who is very much into anger, their life view is antagonistic. Everybody is an enemy. Their predominant emotion is hate. And their process is they are very aggressive. Okay? They want to control other people. When people are focused on pride, they are very demanding. They scorn other people. I'm better than you are, and they make processes more complex, more difficult. And the focus is not on serving the customers or the team members. The focus is on showing how smart he or she is. And when you go to this level here, reason is principles. How do we do this? Why should we be doing this? What's the best way? So it is not, oh yeah, I'm the boss, or I'm older than you are, or I have this, I have that. So you have to listen to me. So it's not about ego, not about pride, not about aggression. It's about reason. Okay? The person who has a mindset of reason, they believe everybody is capable of learning. Anybody can learn. Doesn't matter who that person is, doesn't matter that person has any experience or not, that person can learn. And that is a fundamental belief for this level of thinking. So for process improvement, process is basically how you do something to produce something that you want, whether it's an Android phone, or whether it's a car, or whether it's a pair of running shoes. There are processes in producing those things. The recommendation is we look at the consciousness of reason, and we need to move away from pride, anger, fear, apathy, because these will not work. People, if a manager is like demanding, too demanding, antagonistic, disappointed, and scary, people who work for that manager will not be motivated to produce a lot because they feel victimized. Very, very important. So here's a very complex example, which doesn't make any sense to anybody, doesn't even make sense to me, because when I was quote unquote fired from the project, I took 2 3 weeks, I put it down on my own time, on weekends and late night. Because I'm a disciple, I'm a student of principle and processes, it's very important for me to capture this, because I will not remember this after a few weeks or a few months. And then I wanted to capture the basic principles here in case somebody in the future wants to study this, or if somebody has similar experience, similar situation, this can save them a lot of trouble and grief. And so the material on this one page is good for like a 1 week workshop, 40 hours of studying and breaking it apart, which we don't have the time. We'll just go through at a very high level. 25 minutes have passed since we started, about 20 minutes. Here we have a situation of, let's begin with the numbers. 0. The executive sponsor. These are the people who say, well, in this company, in this hospital, or in this health plan, we need to understand how to produce the work consistently, meaning we want to have high quality results always there, whether Ericsson is at work or not. Maybe Ericsson is the expert. He's very skillful. He knows exactly how to do it. But because Eric is on vacation, then we can no longer produce quality. We want to prevent such a situation. So we need to institutionalize the good process. So we don't depend on Ericsson alone. We take the skill and the process, the steps that Ericsson uses, and we train everybody in the same process according to the principles. And that's how you produce every single iPhone or every single Lexus or every single something of high quality is the same, very high quality. Why? Because they are produced the same way. That's why. Over here, the summary of the case study, I know it's very small for you to see it. The, the overview is when we try to run a project, we need to know when the project is going to finish. Is it 1 week, 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, or never? We need to know how long. JFK said we'll put the man on the moon in 10 years, right? So he came up with a 10-year project. Currently, in the case of this case study, the target date, the ETA, estimated time of arrival, was not clear. And we needed to be able to detect if a project is going to fail. So we need to have different steps. Each step along the way, we should be able to tell. Okay, so the iPhone we put on the screen, iPhone we put on the video display, iPhone we put on the cover, the frame, we put in the battery, we put in the earbud connection. So we have all of these things that we have put in there. But how do you know when you put the iPhone together that the speaker is working? Maybe the speaker broke and you kept on putting other things into it. You know what I'm saying, right, Erickson?
Yes.
So you want to check it along the way. So that's what they call incremental verifiability. So we need to have firm dates and we need to make sure we don't create anything that's already broken. And the solution to accomplish that is you want to design the different steps so everything will fit together, different people. And you want to make sure people are free. People are not scared to say, Erickson, can you do it? Come into the waterfall. Do it right now. Go. Well, the person should be free to say, no, it's very cold. Or people should say, no, I cannot do it in 1 day. I need to do it in 3 months because I have to do 15 things, and these are the things. So that's what we mean by reason rather than anger or aggression, right? So it's very important. So if the leadership, the C-suite, you can see the number 2 here, right?
Yeah.
The C-suite refers to the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, Chief Medical Officer, goes on and on. So these are the bosses, the top dogs in the company, the big wigs. They get the most money, the most bonuses, the biggest offices, and the biggest responsibilities because they have very hard work to do. If the leadership, their energy, their level of consciousness is anger, or aggression, and they are saying, you can go on mute, there's some feedback on your line if you're gonna move the stuff. If they are saying who are not doing their jobs, and lots of people get fired. So at this point, people are scared, right? If people are scared, Erickson, then people will not tell you the truth about how long it will take. They will be afraid to tell you openly and honestly their estimated time of arrivals, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, the senior management philosophy is impacting the behavior of the team. There is no open communication. Why did you do that? You make a mistake again. And you see some coworkers, some departments, people get fired or people get laid off. Maybe they deserve it, maybe they don't. Who knows? I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do. What I'm trying to say is this is human behavior. The executive sponsor wants the results for the company. They want more members. They want to have less money we spend in taking care of special problems. And then the senior management, the leadership, their philosophy will impact the company. Then we have all the project managers, such as myself, we report to the PMO, project management office. So the director, he's talking to all the project managers and say, how come you don't have a schedule today? How come you don't have all the estimations? How come you didn't get from Ericsson? How long it will take for him to code or to test or to ship or to deliver or to do whatever? How come you didn't have this together? Because that is his job, right? So he pushes on what he wants, he thinks he should focus on. In the meantime, the business owner, this is the person who wants the project to be done. So this person says, well, I want the nurses, I want the when the patient wants to see a doctor, wants to see an eye doctor, the primary care physicians, PCP, has to refer the member to a specialist, right?
Yeah.
So they need to get authorization first. So the authorization is done by utilization management. However, the authorization technicians they need to know, oh, how old is Eric San? Eric San has been to the hospital how many times, and what kind of medication is he taking now? Which hospitals has he visited? Is he taking pain medication? So all of this information has to be available, right?
Yeah.
But currently it's not available. Therefore, the business owner wants that information to be available ASAP as soon as possible. So she pushes the project as hard as possible. Okay, now let's look at a principle. If you drive your Honda Civic, which you don't have one, but imagine if you did, if it could go 300 miles per hour, and if you drive it 350 miles per hour, you would destroy the car, right?
Yeah.
If you try to run faster than you can run for one day, the first person, Phidippides, who ran the first marathon to inform his emperor that Greek won against the Persians, I believe that was the story. So I think he ran from Phidippides was the name of the runner. He ran to marathon or he ran from marathon. I don't remember exactly, but he died. After he delivered the news, he actually died, physically died. So what's the point? The point is over here, the constraint. When you push a system beyond its ability, you destroy the system. It's very important, which is what happened here. Because as the business owner keeps on pushing very hard, the project manager, which is yours truly, me, I was a project manager in this case, and I knew it cannot be done. So I communicated in writing multiple times over multiple days. I said it cannot be done, and then I don't disagree with the business owner who says, well, let us try. Which I said, okay, fine, we will try. And I know that in an environment where there is no accountability, no estimation, no result orientation, no integrity. So the culture is like da, 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 da. I don't know and I don't care. Da, 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 da. It's Friday, it's 3 p.m. Let me go out and have a drink, that kind of a thing. And I don't mean to be rude. And yes, we should enjoy our weekends. Don't get me wrong. So as the business owner was pushing as hard as possible, and the team members are afraid, the project team members are afraid to tell the truth. Hey, Jerry, it cannot be done in 3 days. It will need to be done by 40 days. In 40 days, because of this and that, they were afraid to do that. So they, rather than, going against the business owner, who is a chief quality officer, very high level person, they decided to come after me. That's my perception. And it was validated because afterwards, the business owner spoke with directors and senior management and said she was putting the pressure. It was very clear. We have all of this in writing. Not everybody was aware of everything along the way, but that's basically what happened in the case study here. And I'm not going into any more details on this particular page. I'll just look at one thing here. And that thing is, if you see the screen, trains, choo-choo, trains bearing heavy weights need tracks to advance. Processes. A company has to agree on the processes for its production. So processes are the tracks, similar to the train track, that allows massive organizational powers. In a company of $8 billion, 1,500 people, Citigroup has 320,000 people in 100 plus countries. Citibank, Citigroup. Imagine the kind of organizational power and the processes and the discipline we have to go through. Right now, McDonald's is in, I don't know, 100 plus countries in the world. How they run the corporation. Your yarn has just been immortalized in the video. Very nice. Just kidding. Okay, which is fine. So to allow massive organizational power to be unleashed towards the same goal of the project, that's why you have organizational production processes. And then when we say process improvement, if we are not getting what we want, we are not producing college-bound kids, we're not producing black belts, we're not producing nice cars, nice Android phones, we're not producing nice TVs, then something is wrong with our production processes, right, Eric-san?
Yeah.
And that's what process improvement is all about. So we must define processes so there will be an agreed upon pace and an agreed upon method. For example, some people may or may not agree with Trump. So there's this process, right? They will go into debate, they go to the Congress, they go to the Senate, and they work things out with a process rather than having aggression and just fight and argue all day long. So in my mind, this page alone is worth 1 week's worth of study. And look at what Dr. Deming said. Dr. Deming said here, drive out fear, number 8. Dr. Deming, today, Eric-san, you are from Japan as well. Yeah. Dr. Deming, today, the highest award for quality today in 2019 in Japan is called the Deming Award. After World War II, Dr. Deming went to Japan. He taught the Japanese quality. He taught them total quality management. He taught them about process improvement. So Dr. Deming said these are the 14 points that you need to be aware of in process improvement and to produce quality, because quality increases commerce, which leads to prosperity, which leads to peace. So what you and I are talking about is to improve processes so there's peace in the family, there's peace at work, there's money, there's commerce. People will buy lots of iPhones, lots of Android phones because of high quality. And that's commerce. And lots of sales means prosperity. And lots of prosperity means peace and happiness for the people. So you and I, we are actually studying world peace and investing in the people's and humanity's skills in creating peace in the world. You see what I'm saying? Okay. This is good stuff. Let's go on. We talked about how do we drain the swamp, right? The swamp draining principles. I will quickly go through this. The executive sponsor, they are the people who say, yes, this company is the C-level person. This is the chief medical officer, for example. They want to make sure their current focus is, let's have a go. Let's get this done. Let's get this done in 8 months, in 6 months, in 3 months. Let's finish it. So rather than just focus on, and we're not saying anybody is wrong. This is all case study the additional focus the executive sponsor can have is to make sure when people say, oh, let's go to the moon in 10 years, how are you going to the moon? Do you have the technology? Do you have the astronauts? Do you have the hardware, the software, the engine, the power, the fuel? Dr. Deming said a goal without a method is ludicrous. For example, if somebody, like, for example, maybe you will go to, I'm positive it looks like you want to go to college. If you want to go to a college in the East Coast, in the West Coast, in Taiwan, in England, in California, you must have a method to accomplish your goal. You cannot just say, oh, I want to have this goal, but I want to lose weight, but I want to eat 10 times a day and I don't want to exercise. Then that's not going to happen, right? Because you need to have a proper process. Yeah, excellent. So the C-suite, rather than saying who are not doing their jobs, which makes people scared, the C-suite can focus on how can processes be made error-free. How can we make sure when Eric Sang is not at work, he's the best worker we have, we can still produce high quality? Then we must standardize the process, make sure the processes are efficient and error-free. So they can make the iPhone case, then they can put in the battery, then they can put in the speaker, the microphone, the earbud, all that stuff. This had to be produced in a way that we don't ship Android phones and people get the Android phone and the screen doesn't work, the buttons don't work, or they work for 3 weeks and they don't stop working after that. It will be terrible, right?
Yeah.
Then the company will not be able to sell new phones. The company will spend a lot of time fixing old phones, recalls, and returns, and the company will no longer have prosperity because sales has gone down, because quality has gone down. And Dr. Deming said, well, if you try to cut cost, oh yeah, I'm gonna save money. I'm not gonna buy a good laptop. I'm gonna save money. I'm not gonna buy good shoes. But if you don't buy good shoes, you can injure yourself. And if you injure yourself, you're not able to walk, not able to run, and you actually spend more money, right?
Yeah.
When you try to save cost, you actually spend more money. But when you try to improve quality, when you rather than saying who are not doing their jobs and scare people, and people get afraid to speak and tell the truth, and everybody shuts down or they leave, or they kiss up and get promoted. And I'm not trying to say all people get promotion based on kissing up. I definitely don't mean that. I'm not being jealous or sarcastic here. So how can processes be made error-free? So in my mind, that should be the leadership's focus. Jack Welch did that of GE, General Electric. We know output equals input from input plus process. The result equals what you bring to it and the process. If somebody doesn't want to do something and you say, oh, hey, look, man, I want you to get an A. I want you to know this. But the person is not interested. The person is not listening. The person is playing games on the iPhone or the Android phone. You will not get the result you want. So you can tell, and you don't have to get angry about it. Remember, we said when you're angry, you create conflict, antagonism, hostility. People get fired and people quit, right? So this is the basic principle. When you can control the input, and somebody says, okay, I'm interested, I want to do this and that, I'm willing to put in energy, input energy, and then the processes, if the processes are well designed, error-free and efficient, then you will have the result that you want. And remember, what the principle here is, a bad process or a bad system always beats a good person. Doesn't matter how good Eric Sang is. If the processes are broken, the computer doesn't work, the shoes don't work, the socks don't work, the cars don't work, the teachers don't work, then you cannot succeed. It's very, very difficult. Yes, you can go from homeless to Harvard. That happens to some people, but those people are very, very focused. They are very, very clear on what they want. Okay? Very few people are like that. That's why they made that into a movie. And so on. So they are always, let's do a time check. We have another 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go. So for those who are interested, feel free to pause the video at this point. Then you can look at the key principles for each one of these, different roles in the culture. We don't have time to cover that tonight. Let's keep on going. So here is a breakdown of the case study, which I pretty much went through. I covered the entire case study by talking through it at the summary level. And here is where the it's a more microscopic view of what's going on. But even then, there's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of information. This is at least 1 week's worth of training. Organizational change management for the product and cycle time excellence. And then you have to go through awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. So if I come to Eric-san or Alan-san and say, oh yeah, let's go run 5 miles, person will say, what? Why should I do that? For what reason? They're not even aware of such a thing. They have no desire to do it. They don't know how to do it. They don't have the ability to do it. And you cannot reinforce them doing it because, first of all, output equals input plus process. They are not interested. If they're not interested, there's no desire. If there's no desire, you cannot succeed, right? So when a company wants to improve its process, people have to know, oh, okay, what's process improvement? Why should we improve? We've been doing like this for the last 10, 20 years. Why should we change now? What's the reason? How do you empower them? Of course, you can scare them and try to fire them, and management they do that a lot of it. In my mind, with all due respect, we talked about the map of consciousness. Their level of thinking of anger, antagonism, it's not gonna work. It cannot succeed. All right. So each one of these bullets can take 10, 15 minutes. Will take a long time. If you are interested, Eric-san, feel free to you can pause the video after I put it onto YouTube. Then you can look at it. Then we can go through details if you want. And I'm not saying you should, but I promise you, if you understand just this 1 hour stuff, the information here takes about 10, 20 years to accumulate. It's a lot of stuff here to really understand it. And then if you get it, you can save 10, 20 years in some of the stuff. Okay, we talked about this one previously already. Process ninja. So the executives, they have more than power, visibility, connections. They also have process skills. Process ninja. Ninja is Japanese. Because sometimes you have to hide yourself, because if you show too much, you might become, okay, so who you think you are so smart? Why should we listen to you? And then people dislike you, and you get into trouble. All right, so we're not going to go through this. We don't have the time. For those who are interested, they can pause the video and look at it and study it. And if it's not clear, my phone number 310-902-3389. Text me anytime if I'm still alive, right? Because who knows? Somebody may watch the video after I'm dead, right? Right, Eric-san?
Yeah.
And the business owner. So these are just what's going on, what should be done, workers, all the team members, all the different roles and responsibility. And if a person, with all due respect, the job is difficult. They have to deal with lots of troublemakers. People go to HR, people file a lawsuit, people show hostility, people have to be escorted out, people get angry, people fight, people scream. People are some are lazy, such as myself. Some are incompetent, such as myself. Some are ignorant. So I'm not saying management or leadership have an easy job to do. They have all the reasons in the world to be difficult. I mean, to find the situation hard. So these are key principles. If something is happening, if the freeway is clogged, it is not a problem of one driver. It is a problem of the freeway system. If everybody in the family, in the team, is falling down, it is not an individual's problem. It is a problem of the system, the culture. That's where Eric-san, the art of execution framework, one of the pillars is called leader's edge skills. I have sent you the YouTube playlist at one point, I believe. So to be able to get the big picture allows you to understand what's really going on and not just your own personal experience. So these are the principles of effectiveness. These are the things which are very important to understand if you are doing process improvement, right? And we don't take anything too seriously because none of this will last forever. So we just do what we can and we learn, we improve ourselves. And at the end of the day, Eric-san, in my mind, the point is this. If you figure out how to improve your own process, your own study habits, your own exercise routine, your own manage your own time, your own hours, your own production, your own steps. When you figure it out and you perfect it, you become very efficient. Maybe you can run very fast or swim very fast or whatever, jump very high or study very well. That increased productivity will translate to income and profit, and that's for yourself. And if you have income and profit in the Easter Sunday coming up, we can help other people, we can help the world, we can be a force in the world when we are excellent in our personal processes, also in the processes of the group and the company. And that's what this whole study about process improvement is focused on. So all of these are key principles, and each you will take hours to go through each one of these in detail, and it's too much to cover it tonight. So we will end in about 10 minutes. So the business teams, I will kind of slow down so in case somebody wants to pause it, they can see it. And the project manager, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. Briefly, when you are a professional, let's say Eric-san, you are a professional. You are a professional, what? Teacher, coach, mechanic, scientist, nurse, doctor, whatever profession you like to have. So if something happens, how do you respond to some crisis? You don't respond by panicking. You don't respond by getting angry. You don't respond by passing out. You don't respond by cussing. You respond by, first of all, calm yourself and look at the problem. And then you understand the problem. Then you find options to solve the problem. Similarly, as a project manager, I have a set of principles I follow. Number one goal I have as a project manager, I make sure the project does not fail. I make sure my family, I try to make sure my marriage doesn't fail. I try to make sure my child doesn't fail. I try to make sure my extended family don't fail. And then I try to make sure my team at work doesn't fail. Then I try to make sure my project and my company don't fail because that's my job. But if I cannot even keep myself from failing, I cannot help anybody else, right?
Yeah.
So it all begins with me, and that's why people say charity begins at home. So I put my personal best. Pay attention to this personal best we talked about. Remember PPSPS, the philosophy. You are doing your best. I put forth my personal best, and this is the best I can do. I'm doing my best. So if you still fail, I have peace of mind. What else can I do? I cannot do more than what the best I can do, right?
Uh-huh.
So my goal is make sure I don't fail. The project doesn't fail. Make sure I follow a process, product, and cycle time excellence. That means good quality and quickly. Then I follow the directions of the business owner. So these are my processes, and I get a schedule based on people's estimated time of arrivals. But if they are afraid to say they cannot do it in 3 days, then the team breaks down. That's when I got fired from the project. I could have chickened out. I could have said something else, but then I thought to myself, I've been in the company for 5 years, and remember we talked about the negative split.
Uh-huh.
The faster you go towards the end you are, I don't think I'll be in the company for 5 more years. Okay, so I'm definitely in the second half. So it's time for me to really try to, quote unquote, establish and help set the process. And as it turned out, it turned into a power play. And I'm not complaining. When I was younger, I hate to admit it, I did that a lot. I power played with a lot of people. In Citigroup, there was one time I threw 3, 4 people, VP, SVP level people, out of a project because they didn't behave in a way I thought they should have. So karma comes back. I got what I put out to the people, and I don't resent anybody. I fully accept what happened. I perfectly understand what happened. I have empathy. And at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the company. It's about the production process. It's about efficiency. It's about productivity. And if we keep on going down this way, which this company, Ericsson, is not the only company that's doing this. Everywhere people do this. So imagine you and I, or you, after I'm dead, or you while I'm still alive. Imagine we have a company. We can help companies in the US, in North America, in Canada, in Africa, in Asia, in South America, Australia, everywhere, to solve and improve their productivity. So that's my real ambition. I would like to have a consultancy that can really make a big difference. I'm not exactly sure how to make that happen, but that's one of my goals. That's my main goal as far as my career is concerned. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So at your free time, I know some of this may not make sense, but once again, I don't believe it's that difficult to understand. Okay? So if you take time to actually study it, you will learn the principles, and I'm available to tell you. But in the meantime, you got other things to do. I understand it. So all the key principles that we talked about: ADCAR, quality, input, output, a bad system is a good person. Does the C-suite wants to institutionalize the processes? This is the topic of this case study. To PI or not to PI, to process improve or not to improve the process. We have to make up our minds. Based on my observation, many people don't really understand processes. That's my humble opinion. I'm a process geek, so maybe I don't understand it. I'm just talking nonsense. Who says I'm right? All I can say is I'm looking at the gravity, I'm looking at the compass to look for true north. So everything that's in this deck of slides are principles. Like PPSPS will apply to running a marathon. It will apply to lifting weights. It will apply to studying for the SAT. It will apply to buying a house. It will apply to your life. It will apply to your marriage. If you get married one day, it will apply to you buying a car. It will apply to your driving skills. It applies to everything. Just like the gravity applies to everything. Just like the compass, the true north, works no matter you are in snow, you are in the ocean, you are on the mountain. True north is always there, right?
Uh-huh.
So compass will always help you. The gravity will always be there. So if you know how to work against the gravity or how to use the gravity, then you will succeed. And that's the point for principle-centered leadership. And Eric-san, if you don't remember anything, remember this. Understanding, only the top half of your face is showing now. Understanding principles and processes, in my mind, is probably one of the most important things in your life, other than the 10 Commandments. Because these principles, Eric-san, will take you in and out of the battles of life and death. Even when you are in complete darkness, you are lost, you don't know what's going on, you have no job, you're scared, you have no support. But if you can connect to the principles, such as the ones I'm talking about here, and they are the true north, they will always serve as a compass and a GPS and guide you out and guide you and your group to prosperity, to quality, and to power. So here's an example. Why are people scared to tell the truth? Because there's too much work to do. There's not enough people. So whatever is above this line is the capacity, and this is the work that the team cannot get to, and that's why people begin to play games. Project managers begin to play Indians and the police and robbers. Police is chasing the robbers, and robbers are not telling the truth, and it's a game. And eventually, the robbers get angry, and then they shoot you. They shoot back, and that's really not the way to run a family or a company or a group, and that's not the way to do anything. If you, Eric-san, as we were saying about PPSPS, posture, pacing, strategy, philosophy, spirit, if you try to run faster than you can destroy yourself, you can injure yourself. If you try to lift more weight than your capability, you will also destroy yourself. So the same principle is there. It applies to everything. And I know this is all new to you. I know people whom my wife and many people that I've known for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, because they are not so interested in studying principles, I can see. Okay, not everybody thinks this way. But if you begin to look at this, Kai has his capacity, you have your capacity, I have my capacity, my C-suite, my business owner, they have their capacities. Everybody has limitations, right?
Right.
So we'll end in 3 minutes now. So let's end on an up note. Why is quality dead? I believe it's pretty much dead, in my opinion. Dead in the sense that it's not a passion, it's not a focus. And I know we have lots of work to do. Everybody is busy, from what I can see, working on average 30 to 40 hours a week. That's not busy, and I don't mean to criticize. My wife sometimes work up to 90 hours a week. It's crazy. These guys work so hard. They work until 1, 2 a.m. They're up again at 5, 6 a.m. Do you know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's working hard, okay? Working 35, 40 hours a week is not working hard. Even in my current job, I work like 75 hours a week for a number of years. I was so stressed. I had anxiety attack. I couldn't breathe during a conference call. I had to go on mute to gasp for air. And nobody cared. Nobody knew about it. Management was turning over. Nobody gave a damn. The C-suite was replaced. The management was replaced. The directors were replaced. Entire gang of people have left. So you gotta use the principle to guide yourself. Principle is dead because rather than resolving processes, we blame it on people. And then there's so many fires to fight. Today we have this regulation. Tomorrow the auditors are here. Tomorrow the doctors want to get paid for their claims, and we underpay them. And then the day after tomorrow, the members are saying, "Oh yeah, you didn't authorize me to see a specialist. Now I'm gonna sue you." It just goes on and on and on. Because if you don't, like for example, right now, you have a chance to really become a solid human being, become strong, become well educated, very skillful. But if you don't do that, one day if you have children and you have lots of expenses, you'll be in trouble. You'll be so many things that you cannot get to, right? Then you'll be fighting fires the whole day, right?
Yeah.
And in that case, how can you improve the process? Becomes very, very difficult. When you can juggle one ball, it's good. Can you juggle 3? Can you juggle 10? Can you juggle 30 balls? So at some point, you will begin to fail, right?
Yeah.
So that's why quality is dead. And these are the universal principles, not right or wrong. Gravity is impersonal. A principle doesn't take sides, doesn't judge anybody. Or people are just saying, okay, I want to get my job. I want to show visibility. I want to join the dominant coalition. I want to be in the leadership gang. I want more money, which is fair. It's a gold rush. Let's join the gang. Let's play the game, and let's talk good, look good, so we can get more money. I don't recommend doing that. And I will share this one thing with you, and we're almost out of time in 1 or 2 minutes. Sincerity. Remember, we were talking about what sincerity means. Remember, I don't know if you remember that. Sincere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, in Spanish or in Latin or in Italian. In Spanish, sin is without. Sere is wax, without wax. What does that mean? In Italy, at one point, they were selling statues, sculptures, and the sculptures were made from stone, marbles or granite, okay? And when the statues have cracks, they are broken. The merchants, the, the, the dishonest vendors, they would rub wax into the crack, right? So,
Yeah.
so the sculpture, the statue looks perfect. So the person buys it, takes it home, puts the statue or the sculpture in the garden, and the sun begins to shine on it, right?
Yeah.
And the sun is hot, and when it's hot, what happens to the wax?
Melts it.
The wax begins to melt, so the statues and the sculptures begin to weep. They begin to sweat in the garden. So people say, okay, don't buy sculptures because they are filled with wax. So the vendors put on the table saying, my sculptures are sine cere. My sculptures are without wax. So what's the point? The point is, if you don't have real skills, if you can talk your way or lie your way or whatever, scam your way, when you come to real difficult situation, when the heat is high and you cannot handle it, guess what? You will sweat and you will melt. So it's very, very important to make sure. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's a number 4 is a video in YouTube. For those people who are interested, definitely look it up. The playlist I talked about, out of execution, very important. You are being video recorded, your mouth catching a fly. Always be aware, which is good. Excellent. Okay, cohesive skills, very important. When the person doesn't know how to handle conflict or control his or her own anger and ego, it's very difficult to get empowerment in the team. Empowering life. So I will end with this one last thing here. Imagine the information came in incorrectly. The CPU, the leadership did not send the information, or they sent the information, but it was not received. And then the signal, even if it comes through, is incorrect. When everything else, Eric-san, this is very, very major principle. When everything else has failed, the environment has failed, the leadership has failed, the signal, what to do has failed, you can still execute correctly. Okay? You can do that only if you have a compass, only if you have a GPS. And those are the principles which will guide you through the major battles of life and death. Do you have any questions at this point?
No.
All right. Therefore, I'll leave this on the screen. I want to thank you very much. Domo arigato. And I will turn
Thank you.
off the recording now. Give me 1
All right.
second. Control